Lanny Coltrane was born in Dayton, Ohio, in 1858. She married a rancher named Robert Coltrane in 1875, and they moved to the Arizona Territory later that year. Over the months, they slowly built a small but prosperous cattle ranch. However, Robert was critically injured in a freak accident in 1881, and he died after a lengthy illness. Lanny tried to carry on, but the ranch ran into severe debt. The news of the discovery of dark stone captivated the young woman, and with little prospect of making a go of the ranch, she sold the heavily mortgaged property, and she traveled to Hilltown hoping to form a posse of adventurers that shared her zeal for discovery, those seeking fame and fortune, in the Shadows of Brimstone.
Martin Steele was born in Portland, Maine in 1856, to a family of Scottish immigrants. When he turned 18, he left the family farm behind and traveled west, seeking fame and fortune. After several years of working odd jobs, he became a deputy marshal in the Arizona Territory. Now, with the discovery of dark stone, Martin has made his way to Hilltown, where he's met a young widow. Together, they have joined forces in a search for fame and untold riches.
Good evening to everyone, and welcome to the Solo Gamers Club. Tonight I'll be starting a new campaign of Shadows of Brimstone using my solo rule set, Alone in the Shadows of Brimstone. I'm calling this Season 3, The Adventures of Lanny and Martin. I learned a great deal from the test campaign that we've just concluded, and I've implemented some changes to help make the new campaign more interesting and exciting. I'm going to begin with a quick overview of the Posse members and the conditions prior to the start of the campaign, and then I'll quickly discuss the changes to the campaign rules, map, etc. We'll begin with the Posse members. The Posse was randomly created using the tables that are included in the campaign rules. The first member of the Posse is a rancher named Lanny Coltrane. Her starting gear includes the hunting rifle, has a good range of 12, one shot, and +2 damage. It's a two-handed weapon. Her personal item is a ribbon, which will give her +1 agility, and at the end of each adventure she can remove 1 corruption, which is very handy. I've written that in that the ribbon was given to her by her younger sister, and that's a remembrance of her from their childhood. Her starting upgrade is Home Remedies, and this is going to be quite useful. Use 1 grit to heal D6 wounds from yourself or another hero on your map tile. And she's also going to start every adventure with an extra grit than normal, so that's a outstanding upgrade for her. And she'll begin the campaign with $100. That's what's left over after she sold her heavily mortgaged ranch. She has 4 rations, a whiskey, and she's going to start with 2 grit tokens per that Home Remedies card. Her strengths are definitely going to be her lore ability of 4. In addition, her rapid shot ability is going to be very powerful when she's wielding a two-handed weapon. That will come in very handy. She also has an evasion capability, which she'll be able to roll 2 dice for escape attempts, and she can use the highest roll. So that will help to allow her to disengage during combat and maybe reposition herself in a more advantageous position. And our other member of the Posse is a former U.S. Deputy Marshal named Martin Steele. Martin's starting gear includes the old lantern and a shotgun. And the shotgun is going to be a very powerful, albeit short-ranged weapon, but it's going to use a D8 to hit and for damage. So this posse is certainly going to have a lot more firepower than the one that I had from the previous campaign. His personal item is a bear claw, and I've got that written in that was given to him by an Indian chief after he saved the life of the man's granddaughter. And that's where he got that bear claw from. And that's going to be once per turn. He may re-roll a single willpower test. And his upgrade was cleaning up the West. And that's going to help him in offering XP bonuses and healing every time he eliminates an enemy. He's going to start the campaign with $125 in cash, 6 rations, some bandages, and 1 grit token. His strengths are definitely his cunning mind. He has a 4 in the cunning department, and he has moderately quick reflexes. His initiative is 4. His double shot ability, when combined with the shotgun, is going to be very powerful, and that could have a devastating effect. That will give us an extra shot when we kill an enemy with the shotgun. I've determined that the posse will begin the campaign in the river town called Hilltown. Our randomly selected available missions at the start of the campaign are a Caverns of Cinder mission called Dark Deal, that's located at Terek's Peak, and a Hellfire Succubi mission called Shadow and Flame, and that's available at Clayton Ravine. You'll notice that we've changed 2 cities on the map, Lestina and Fringe. Those used to be rail towns, and I've converted those into general towns. They have a black border on them now. So that will allow us more chance to get specialty towns into the game. I was forced into doing these changes manually. I cannot print on large media anymore. I'm waiting for a new printer to come into stock that can print the 11 by 17 size, but those are currently out of stock. I've decided to streamline the videos a bit to include more action and less bookkeeping on the screen. I'll still be showing the in-game dice rolls live, but to save time I'll be making the town creation rolls and rumor token draws and non-player character creation off-screen. I'll simply show the results after the fact. This should help to spare the viewers from unnecessary downtime in the videos. In addition, I'll be sure to provide timestamps within the video, and this can facilitate the viewers if they wish to skip through certain narrative elements within the videos. I'll discuss the rules changes as we play, but suffice it to say that the major change that occurred was regarding non-player character interactions. I was able to streamline that quite a bit, and I think it's going to be better than what I had. I know it's better than I had. Whether it's going to be optimal, we'll have to find out. There were some also minor changes applied to pretty much all areas in the campaign, very minor changes to tables or wording on things to make it a little bit more clear. For this campaign, we'll be using a new set of randomly created non-player characters. Those appearing in the Brimstone Atlas will not be used during this playthrough. We'll also be using advanced encounters as we did in the previous videos. However, what I've done now is I've removed all of the advanced encounters from the standard encounter decks, and we will only add those now to an encounter when it's required by a minecart. And this should help to increase the tension a bit in the missions and keep the advanced encounters special and unique rather than having them come out in the random draws. I'll discuss some of the other changes as they present themselves as we play. The date is Wednesday, February 13th, 1884, and we join Lanny and Martin in the Waterfront Cafe in Hilltown. The heroes will begin the campaign in the river town called Hilltown. And before we get to the resolution of their town stay in Hilltown, I wanted to get an idea of what we're going to be planning on doing in regards to the campaign map and the missions that we're going to try to undertake. There's 2 active missions on the board that the campaign began with. One of them is a Hellfire Succubi mission called Shadow and Flame. That's located in the Clayton Ravine, and unfortunately though the reward on that is only 50 XP and heal D6 corruption points. So that really doesn't give us too much bang for the buck, as it were. Both of the characters have a campaign goal of fame. So that means that they want to try to, XP is important to them, and to try to obtain the 8th level, basically. That is their campaign goal. The other mission is a Caverns of Cinder mission called Dark Deal. Now that one offers 50 XP and a cash reward of D6 times $100. The problem with that location is it's quite a ways away from us. It would take many travel cycles to get there. The other option we have is, as a part of the campaign rules, if the posse has not undertaken a mission in the campaign, they can undertake the introductory mission, Fistful of Darkstone. That can be declared at any adventure location. And what I'm planning on doing is I'm going to select Mount Laterra. That's only a couple travel cycles away. It's within 1 travel cycle of another town. And how that would work out is how I'm at least envisioning this is we would undertake the mission in Mount Laterra, travel to Seraphin, resupply. We could take a rail to Wood's End, move there in 1 turn, and then from there use overland movement and go to the Caverns of Cinder mission in Terex Peak. So that's kind of what I'm planning on doing. All right, now we're going to resolve the posse's stay in Hilltown. All right, I have rolled up the specifications for Hilltown. We determined by using the tables from the campaign rules that the Hilltown will be a medium-sized town. And it's also a river town. It's a blue bordered town on the campaign display. So it automatically has a street market and a gambling hall, which represents the riverboat. I've made a notation that it's a wealthy town, so all prices are $10. That includes the hotel. I tend to forget that all the time, so I've made a little sticky note for myself as a reminder. And then it also has river travel available, where for $50 per person, we'd be able to travel to any other river town on the display. So we've got a street market, a sheriff's office, blacksmith, Indian trading post, mutant quarter, smuggler's den, and the gambling hall. Now the town also contains 1 NPC, and that NPC is on Lanny's personal NPC list. She's friendly to the posse, so that's another consideration. And before we begin, I'm just going to point out something that I found was very helpful from the BGG site. It was someone created these booklets. I don't know their name, but they're very handy in the fact of the ability to record long-term information for your posse members. And it's a very nice format that the person used, and you can actually staple them and put them in, make it into a booklet. So there's a place like for gear, their statistics, class abilities, melee weapons, ranged weapons, injury and madness and mutations, spells and sermons if necessary, and a small history in the back. So that's something that I thought was pretty helpful in a campaign game, a way to record all of that information for long-term storage. So I basically got printed out 2 of those, 1 for each of the main characters. All right, we're ready to begin with our town stay in Hilltown. All of the decks have been shuffled prior to setup. We'll give our daily event deck a cut, and then we will commence. And our first daily event is Crisp Morning Air. Town daily event. There is a fine chill to the morning that grips you as you step out of the door into the fresh air. It is a refreshing bite to the senses that makes you feel alive. All heroes may make a Spirit 6+ test. For each 6+ rolled, you can remove 1 corruption. All right, none of the characters have any corruption points, so it's basically a no effect. And now we're going to select our lodging. Both characters are going to stay at the hotel, so we're going to spend $20 for each of them to stay at the hotel. Now the Posse members are able to visit a town location of their choice. All right, we'll begin with Martin Steele. I'm attempting to play this as best as I can, so I'm taking a lot of time off camera to think about all of the different options that my heroes will have in the playthrough. So I'm trying to do as best job as I can. I'm going to share some of my thought process as we're playing. For Martin, him having the keyword law, might be a good idea for him to visit the sheriff's office. There's several things that he can try there. One of them is called Interrogate Prisoner. That costs $50. And basically, that would allow him to make a cunning roll. And for every 6, he would be able to cancel and redraw an exploration token or encounter card during the next adventure. So that would be a very useful thing if I would be able to roll 6s. Unfortunately, though, on a roll of a 1, it moves the darkness 1 space forward in the depth track at the start of the next adventure. So that might be an option for us to take. It'd be a little bit of a risk, but we could gain a lot of flexibility in the mission by having that ability to redraw. Another option would be for him to join a manhunt. That's free. He would make a cunning test. He has a cunning of 4, by the way, so that's kind of in his wheelhouse. And he'd be gaining 20 XP for every 6 that he rolls. And that would represent him capturing part of the bandit crew of the person that they're attempting to apprehend. If a 6 is rolled during that test, he can actually combat and attempt to capture the outlaw, and that would earn him 25 XP and D6 times $100. The problem with that is what we would have to do is if the 6 is rolled, we'd roll 2d6 and subtract his initiative, which is 4, from that total. And whatever remains would be the number of hits that he would take. Each hit does 4 wounds to him, though, so that is a kind of a risk to him starting out in a wounded condition. Another option would be for him to visit the trading post where he could undertake a vision quest. It's free, and if he's able to pass a Spirit 5+ test, he would gain 25 XP, and he'd have that vision quest bonus available to him during the next adventure. Another option would be to visit the gambling hall where he could purchase some whiskey and fine cigars, and those would be definitely helpful during the upcoming adventure. And he could actually play a little bit of the devil's wheel while he's there. And his 4th option that I've come up with would be to visit the campsite, and he'd be able to purchase some bandages and whiskey there. Well, I would really love to join in that manhunt. That would really produce potentially some good results, but I think that's a little too risky, and I don't want to start out behind the gun, so to speak, as we're just starting the campaign. So I'm going to have Martin go to the sheriff's office, and I think I'm going to have him undertake that interrogate prisoner. Okay, now we'll move on to Lanny. I had a few options for her. One of them would be to visit the street market, where she could buy some rations and a potion or spices. That would be definitely helpful during the upcoming adventure. Another option would be for her to also visit the Indian trading post and undertake a vision quest. A third option would be for her to visit the campsite, where she could buy bandages and or whiskey. And the 4th option would be for her to attempt to initiate an NPC interaction with that NPC on her personal list. That one would really not require much risk involved, and we would have the potential of her gaining another hero to go campaigning with us, and that is an option. So I'm going to think about those 4 options for Lanny. Well, after some thought, I've decided to have Lanny go visit the street market. And when she's at the street market, I'm going to have her attempt to purchase a potion. Now, a potion can be spent, and that will add +2 to any skill level for the rest of a turn. So that might be helpful if we run into some problems with, say, a particular encounter where her skill level might not be what we need. That potion could be very helpful for that. So I think that's what we're going to try to do. All right, we'll resolve the visit to the sheriff's office, and we'll see what happens there. Martin is at the sheriff's office. We're going to start out with a 2d6 roll on the location event table at the sheriff's office. Okay, he rolled an 11, and that says we need 6 men. Mount up, we've got a job to do. Every hero at the sheriff's office that is not law or holy immediately gains the Become Deputized bonus for free. Then any hero that joins a manhunt today gains double any XP and gold earned. Well, unfortunately, in this case, Martin is, he has the law designation, so we won't be able to take advantage of that because it specifically says every hero that is not law. All right, so we're good with that, and I think we're going to have Martin attempt to interrogate that prisoner. Okay, the normal list price on this procedure is $50, but as this is a wealthy town, it says all prices are plus $10. So this is going to cost Martin $60. So we'll have him pay that $60, and then that's going to allow him, it says here, you question one of the jailed prisoners for information while the sheriff looks the other way. All right, and thematically this is going to work out quite well because in that write-up I had earlier, we found out that a drunken prospector came into town and he was blabbing about a mine that he found in Mount Laterra. Well, I've named him Ole Svensson. So he's going to go into Ole Svensson's cell and he's going to interrogate him. So this will allow us to do a cunning test and a strength or cunning test. We're going to use cunning. Martin's cunning is a 4, and that will allow him to roll 4 dice. For every 6 he can get, that will give him the option to cancel and redraw an exploration token or an encounter card during the next adventure. If we do roll 1s though, that is going to move the depth track up 1 for each of those at the start of the next adventure. So there's a little risk involved. All right, so we're going to make our cunning test and we'll see if we can get some success here. All right, we've got 2 6s, so that is absolutely fantastic. That is going to allow us 2 chances in the next adventure to redraw an exploration token or an encounter card. I'm going to make a notation of that. So that actually worked out quite well for us. All right, so that worked out quite well for us. I'm really happy that I made that selection. So we're going to put that $60 in the bank. And now we're going to resolve Lanny's visit to the street market. We'll start out with a 2d6 roll location event roll. Okay. She rolled a 12. It says rare deal. Something on a high shelf at the back of a market stall catches your eye. Draw a world card and then an artifact from that world. You may purchase that artifact for half the price listed on the card. Round to the nearest $5. If there is no price listed, redraw. Okay. All right, that special item came from the mines, and it was called San Pedro's Lantern. And we would be able to purchase that for half price. That would be $225. Well, unfortunately, that's more than we have, but interesting nonetheless. All right, now Lanny will continue on with her visit at the street market. Okay, I had one miscalculation, and unfortunately I forgot about that wealthy town. All prices are $10. I wanted Lanny to purchase that potion for $75. Well, that would put the cost at $85. She's only got $80 left. So I'm going to have her purchase a rare spices token. That'll cost her $60, and that is going to allow her to add a plus to damage during an attack roll. Yeah, it says discard to add D3 damage to a single hit. Unfortunately, you also take 1 wound ignoring defense when you use that, but that could be useful. So I think we'll do that. She'll purchase that for $60. Okay, so that's going to leave Lanny with $20 in cash remaining. She's going to add a spice token to her side bag, and that's going to end her visit at the street market. I do have the option to purchase some rations there, but with the plus $10 for the wealthy town, we have plenty of supplies. I've got a total of 10 rations between both characters, so I think we'll resupply at another town. All right, now we were able to draw a rumor token, and that one was revealed to be a Crimson Hand mission called Black Ritual. We'll go to the campaign map and we'll find out where that mission becomes available. All right, we're at the campaign map, and that mission, I rolled on the mission location table, and it came up to be North Sierra Magellans, and that's the Crimson Hand mission Black Ritual, so it's definitely way out of our range for the time being. All right, then we have to make our end of day roll. The marker is at 1, so on a d6 roll of 1, we're going to have a town event. Okay, we rolled a 2, so we're okay with that. And the only decision left now is whether we're going to decide to stay another day in town or head out on the road on our mission at Mount Laterra. I would like to stay in town for another day, but I really don't have the resources monetarily to do anything of any substance. So I think we're going to head out on the road. We're going to mount up and head east towards Mount Laterra and our adventure site. All right, we're back at the campaign map, and we are going to decide on our travel route. We're going to be heading for Mount Laterra, and that's where we're going to undertake our introductory Fistful of Darkstone mission. So we're going to be traveling on this dark brown trail towards Mount Laterra, and our first stop is going to be a waypoint there. So we'll move our marker halfway between Hilltown and the waypoint. All right, we're at our overland travel display, and here's our hero markers. And we've already selected our travel path. It's going to be a dark brown path, which is uncharted. So that's the most dangerous and most difficult. We are going to have to select a guide, and I think I'm going to have Lanny be the guide today, and Martin will follow behind. I'd like to point out that we're going to be using our new D100 hazard table that I previewed in some previous videos. Just to clarify that, 36 of those are the original hazards from the Frontier Town expansion, and the other 64 are user-created hazards. A portion of those hazards that we've created involve the guide, so the selection of the guide is more important than it was in previous overland travel sequences. All right, Lanny is going to set our travel pace, and I think I'm going to have her choose cautious. We're on a dark brown trail, which is uncharted, and that's going to have a potential of having more hazards to deal with. So we're going to move at a cautious pace. It's going to consume more supplies, but we'll have a dice roll modifier that will help us in the overland movement roll. So we will consume 3 rations to remain in supply. 2 of those will be donated from Martin, and 1 will come from Lanny. So that'll leave Martin with 4 and Lanny with 3. And we'll place those here to let us know that we've done that. And so we've got our supplies consumed, and now we're going to make our overland travel roll. And our modifiers will be +1. We're all mounted. We are proceeding at a cautious pace, so we'll have another +1 for that. So we're going to be able to add 2 to the result. All right, here is our D8 roll. We rolled a 3. Okay, so that'll be modified to a 5. A 5 on that dark brown is going to be a 2 with a special symbol. And that special symbol is check for tainted rations. Roll a d20. See the pace table. If roll is successful, Posse must discard d6 rations to spoilage. Okay. In our cautious pace, tainted rations will occur on a d20 roll of a 1 to 5. All right, so we'll make that roll with a d20 and see what happens. A 1 to 5, and we're going to lose d6 rations. We rolled a 16, so we're okay with that, but we do have to resolve 2 travel hazards. All right, we'll make our first travel hazard roll. That's going to be a D100 roll, and the red die will be the 10s and the white die will be the singles. Okay, get rid of that D20, and then we'll make our roll. Here's our first hazard. And that one is 05, so that's number 5. Okay, let's see what that is in the book. I'll bring that up on the screen, and it reads Wild Horse. You come across a horse drinking from a creek. The mount is saddled, but no rider can be found. The horse is very skittish, but a lone hero might be able to approach the horse and lasso it with a rope. All right, it says choose a hero to make a combined Strength 6+ and Agility 6+ test. If 3 or more successes are obtained, you lasso the horse. Gain the horse, D6 times $25, and a gear card, which is in the saddlebags. If you fail, the horse runs off, never to be seen again. Well, we'll definitely give that a shot. No doubt about it. And I'm going to have Lanny attempt that. She has an agility value of 2. And she gains 1 agility from her ribbon. And she has a strength of 3. So she'll be rolling a total of 6 dice for the test. And we need to have 3 successes to be able to capture that horse. All right. All right, here's our 6 dice roll. We're looking for 6s. We need 3 successes. And we only have 1 success, unfortunately. So, reading what it says here, if you fail, the horse runs off, never to be seen again. Well, it would have been a nice bonus for us if we could have done that, but no takers. Okay, now we'll make our second hazard roll. And this time the result is a 70. Okay, we'll look that up in the book. All right, I'll bring that up on the screen. It says Puma Attack. As dusk approaches, a puma leaps at the guide from a nearby tree. This is one large and aggressive cat. The guide must make a cunning 6+ test. If they pass, they confuse the cat and it escapes unscathed. If he fails, the puma pulls the rider from his mount and mauls him with tooth and claw. The hero takes D6 wounds, ignoring defense, and must roll on the injury chart. Whoa. All right, we're going to have to resolve that. The guide is Lanny. She has a cunning value of 2. So she's only going to get 2 dice on this check, and she needs to get a 6. And otherwise she's going to get mauled. Now, all right. She has 2 grit tokens if necessary. So, okay, here is the roll. She rolled a 1 and a 2. Well, we're definitely going to be spending one of those grit tokens to re-roll that. There's absolutely no doubt about that. So I will spend grit token for her, and then we're going to re-roll that. See if we can get a success. It's a tough test. We did get a 6. Amazing. All right, we got the 6. And that says here that if they pass, they confuse the cat and escape unscathed. Okay, that was a potentially very damaging event, no doubt about it. All right, that completes our first leg of our journey. We reached the waypoint, and now we're going to be moving from the waypoint towards Mount Laterra. All right, so we've reached our waypoint halfway between Hilltown and Mount Laterra. And we're going to continue on our journey, so we're going to be on that leg between the waypoint and Mount Laterra. It's another dark brown trail. All right, we've selected our travel path. That's going to be another dark brown uncharted trail. I'll leave the guide as Lanny, and we're going to continue on with that cautious pace. I think that's just a smart play at this point. Safe, better to be safe than sorry. So for consuming supplies, we'll need to consume 3 supplies. So we'll do the same thing as we did last time. 2 will be contributed by Martin, 1 will be from Lanny, and that will leave Martin with 2 and Lanny with 2 rations. And now we're going to make our overland trail roll, and that'll be the D8 roll. We're going to be adding 2, 1 for mounted and 1 for the cautious pace. So that'll get us a +2 dice roll modifier. We'll be using the dark brown column. Okay, we rolled a 2, and that's modified to a 4. So that'll be a total of 3 travel hazards we have to undergo. Whoa. Okay, here is the first of 3 travel hazards. That time we rolled a 37. Okay, let's see what that is. All right, number 37 reads, March of the Lost Army. You hear a thunderous roar from up ahead and pull off to the side of the trail to take cover. Moments later, a massive army of the dead comes into view, marching in formation with tattered flags and a battery of hell cannons in tow. 1,000-strong lost army passes by with hate in their soulless black eyes. Each hero must make a Luck 5+ test. If passed, gain 20 XP. If failed, the lost army is alerted to your presence and the hero must make a run for it, riding as fast as possible to get away. In your haste to escape, the hero loses 1 item of their choice, pulled away by the clawing hands of the spectral cavalry sent to give chase. All right, I'll start out with Lanny. She has a luck value of only 1. Okay, so she'll get 1 die, and she needs to roll a 5 or better. Okay, here is her roll. She rolled a 4, so that's a failure. And so in that case, she is going to have to lose an item of her choice. And I think the least expensive out of that would be the whiskey bottle. So I'll have her sacrifice that. And now we'll make Martin's roll. Martin has a luck value of 3. So he'll be able to roll 3 dice for this test. Here's his roll. And he passed with flying colors, no problem. He's got 2 5s. All right, that completes the second hazard. We have 1 to go. All right, here's our next hazard roll. That time we have a 75. Okay, 75 reads Healing Plants. Occasionally, the desert throws the weary traveler a bone and provides them with medicinal herbs that can aid in healing. A random hero spots a patch of healing herbs that is clustered in a notch in the rock face. You may make a cunning 4+ test to gather the herbs. If you pass, all heroes in the posse may heal D3 wounds. Well, none of the posse has any wounds to heal, so I won't even bother making the roll. We'll move on to the next one. Okay, here's our third hazard. And that one is 12. Okay, let's see what 12 is. Okay, 12 reads, The Lady of the Lake. You observe the spirit of a woman hovering over the lake. The malevolent spirit turns and lunges towards you, attempting to drain your life force. The guide must make a Spirit 6+ test. If you pass, you resist the attack by the Lady of the Lake, and it flees from you in terror. If you fail the test, the Lady of the Lake taps a portion of your life force, permanently lose D3 health. All right, so that test is going to be Lanny, which is the guide. She needs to make a Spirit 6+ test. Okay, her Spirit value is 3, so she'll get 3 dice for that test. And we'll see if she can pass this. She needs a 6 or greater, though. Okay, here's the roll. And she failed. She had a 5, but not a 6. So she's going to lose D3 health permanently. Get a D3 die out, and we'll see how much she loses. And she loses 3, so that's going to bring her health down from 14 down to 11. And that's going to complete our overland travel rolls for this leg of the journey. All right, the posse has successfully completed their overland travel, and they arrive at Mount Laterra. That was a pretty rough journey. We had to undergo 5 travel hazards, and we really did quite well with those overall, other than the last one. I think I'm going to end the video here, and we will undertake our mission in the next video. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you soon at the Solo Gamers Club. Have a good evening and be safe.